Hello, everyone. Welcome back. No time for break. We're jumping into another topic. We've just been listening about the bots talking with one another and the crazy stuff that can happen on the internet with the AI these days. So I think it really blends nicely with the next topic. Mauro Bennici, who's the CTO at Ghostwriter.ai, will tell us a little bit about because having an AI ethics code is essential for every person within a company. Sounds very intriguing. The floor is yours, Mauro.
Thank you, Pavel. So, John West, I start to do my job on IT. The only problem that we have is be sure that things works. So our first problem is okay. I have a technical problem. I have to solve this technical problem. But the world become to be just a little complicated. Now we know that we have a lot of difference from when I started. I started when I was 6 years old. We are Commodore 64, and everything was closed inside the machine. So during the year, I became a .NET Foundation member. I started as a data scientist. I became a professional Scrum Master and a microservices trainer and Azure Cloud Solution Architect. And so the world became always more complicated, more complex, more connected. And what we are doing today with artificial intelligence is something is completely new in the world because we are demanding to a machine just to take options, to take data and make a decision for us. So we are not monitoring this machine. The machine is programmed to do by itself. So it's a completely different world compared from the world of 40, 30 years ago. And now it's more easy to read something about ethics of AI. But we don't know what it means, really, ethics of AI. Because sometimes we don't know what it means ethics. What is ethics? And why it is different from moral? A lot of people know what is moral. It's something that when I see, when I think, I decide that this is good or it is bad. But it's quite personal. Or it is a part of my culture, of my country. When we talk about ethics, we are talking of something that we have to think that this could be good or bad, but for me, for the community, for the other people. When we talk about ethics of AI, it is quite a mistake. AI couldn't be ethic. It's all a machine. When we talk about we have to be ethic, it means that the data scientist and the company have to create it ethically. So we have to select the dataset. We have to maintain our data. We have to be sure that the results of our algorithm, our models, our system, it works ethically. But because ethically doesn't mean good for all, but it means good for a perspective, for a point of view. A lot of problems are rising. Some years ago, we know that it was the terrible IT scandal called Echelon and Echelon 2, when system of surveillance from spy story was used just to spy European people, politicians, and it was quite normal. It was considered something that nation and country could be for air safety or just to catch industrial patent and industrial secret to be more competitive. What has changed is that the world, all the world, have a little nightmare, so that companies that are not just spy or just not country, are just a simple company can access an incredible numbers of data with our personal data and use them to hack our brain. So it's possible for this company to get this data and use the algorithm against us, just to move our model think, or just to propose new advertising, or just to propose who have to vote. And they tell this information just in the same way we want to learn it. We want to be able to say it. We are able to hear it. And so we associated the problem of ethics and the problem of moral with the problem of is illegal or not illegal. So Cambridge Analytica it wasn't illegal because there isn't a real rule or real law that save all the wars and save all the countries. And this is strange. In Europe has arrived the GDPR. So with the GDPR, they say, okay, something is legal or illegal. But having an ethical code doesn't mean respect the law, because it is quite normal. We don't need to have an ethical code to respect the law. Having an ethical code means also be conscious or be able to support and to act that the company that I'm joining could be something that I don't like, or we don't like in general, or that I don't like because my values are different, or that the company could ask us to do not respect the law because the law doesn't respect the value of the company. It's quite a strange point. I think we have to think more about this. If you take the case of Apple versus FBI, we know that FBI and NSA asked Apple to unlock some mobile phones, some iPhone, because they were used for suspected terrorists. Apple refused. The FBI asked also to the to the Apple team to introduce a backdoor inside the iPhone. It happened the same. Apple refused. So Apple asked just to so to employees who don't know respect the law. And it was quite normal for people inside Apple because they decided to protect the privacy of the customers. And they go in court. There's an action in California about FBI versus Apple because they don't want to open the iPhone to the FBI. There are other examples. For example, when a company can ask us immediately when we are hired to do not respect the law. For example, Greenpeace, we know that the action a lot of time are under the law, for example, on the Fisher Wall and all the oil platform extraction. But this is the ethical code of Greenpeace. So what it means that when we are hired, we have a lot of time to talk with different levels of people, by human resources, our new managers, our customers. But there is only a few times that we have just a time to look the documents that we have to sign. There is sometimes the privacy, the code of conduct, we have the national layer and the national law, but not the ethical code. Or imagine that the company have an ethical code. It is ethical code we have to be in the home page. So when they just decided to do an application to a job, I want to see the ethical code of this company, just to decide that I respect my view of the world, my same values, or just to say, okay, It's not the company when I want to work for. And this is because sometimes we see that the company is the marketing leader of something or that has great customers, but we know when we are hired and we work inside the company to know that something is it doesn't we imagine. It doesn't mean the technology that they're using. It doesn't mean the customer that we have, but the way they have created this product or the customers that are not public on the websites that I don't like. 30 years ago, no one created software to be secure. The software security arrived later. Now all of us know that we have to protect our data. We have to because we'll have risk of breach, or because the GDPR asks us, or is mandatory for some kind of or activities. But protect your data sometimes means protect the data of the customers. And protect data of the customers for artificial intelligence models means protect the way these data are used. And not used to protect the model or to create the model, but used when we act with artificial intelligence. In very, very few lines, artificial intelligence is quite a black box. When we want to classify something, we can put this dataset, that for example, some animals, and just the models is used to take this picture, translate the numbers, put inside in our deep learning, in our deep learning models, some that this little ball can arrive to a basket. So the machine does not nothing about the dog, about the bird, about the cat. It's just mathematics. So in this case, the baskets have the labels that are written in Klingon. It's quite the same for the machine. They have no idea what is the cat, the dog, the bird, or the meanings of these animals, or the simple fact that they're animals. Just for a lot of us, when we use a service, we have no idea how this service is built, that this is ethical or not, is respect the law or not. If we are protected and not discriminated, there was a crazy example a few weeks ago about this image. This image won the first prize at a competition for digital painters. But this picture, at the end of the contest, was declared not admissible. Why? Because the painter admitted that was all everything was created with a generating adversarial network, like DALI on Midjourney. Oh, the problem is not that the painter was excluded from the contest or disqualified against them have won the prize. The problem now is that we don't know how many other painters are using this kind of technology. And the problem is, who is the owner of this painter? The owner of this painting, who is? And is the painter, is who created the algorithm. But there is another ethical question. And the ethical question is, if we are just training Midjourney with a lot of images, we are absolutely sure that we have the right to use these images. So if we are taking pictures and painting and for people that died for more than 90 years, I know that there is not copyright. But if I'm taking a picture and painting for a live painter, for example, I've stolen their style. I just stole their creativity. So what I'm doing is legal or not? And today we know that also Microsoft was had a same problem with the GitHub Copilot because Microsoft declared that they used the open source declared public code, but also if the code is open source, just there is a license, and sometimes the license is restricted, so it's not an MIT on a BSD. I couldn't take this code and use by myself. If I use this code is an AGPL or an GPL or something else, on I have or to move all my code to this license, or just to have the credits of all the code that I used. It's not enough say it was public, so I take it, because it's the same problem of Cambridge Analytica. I access a lot of information of people on Facebook and I use it. So the way I take this data as not correct, and the way at the end, for example, Cambridge Analytica used it is not correct. At the same time, this painter just say, okay, it's enough, is my take the money, and no one will know that. But it's not ethically correct. That we find is that when we talk about ethical concept and AI, we took just a bias of modernity. So we think that what is happening now never happens in the past. It is not true. This is Peter. Peter is a chimpanzee of the Zoo of Stockholm. When it was a painter, was the first painter that exposed in a fair, and the name used was Pierre Brasseur. And this Pierre Brasseur was considered the best painter of the exposition. At the end of the exposition, the curator said, "Okay, but this is the work of a chimpanzee," and a problem arises. Same of the problem with the AI. Who is the owner of the painting of the chimpanzee Peter? Is Peter? Is the painter that teach, teach Peter? Is the zoo? And today that we are able to have testament and just to say all my money, all my company will at the end move to my cats, to my animal, to my pets. It's not the same for Peter. If I can just leave all my money to an animal, why this animal is not we able to say this is my painting? I have to use it. And the problem just is moving with the AI. If the AI do something, who is the guilt in this action? Who is the actor? This is the AI. This is the company. There are networks created. So is a very complex. As the same, there was a news that Bruce Willis denied, but it was also that he decided to solve his images to be used in the metaverse. Just we know that we can have a lot of software just to recreate the deep fake. If I use this deep fake, these deep fake models are just trained with a lot of faces taken from the website. Perhaps my face and your face. But no one asked us about this. And now deepfake is really easy. We just need a mobile phone and just to have Jim Carrey that impersonates Jack Nicholson Shining. There isn't the necessary to have a deep framework or to have a lot of resources. Just mobile phone. So and no one can say what it happens because no one can just reverse engineering the dataset. So the new movement that now we are looking, there are the concept of synthetic data. The synthetic data are data that are used just to create from scratch using an artificial intelligence the data that we are going to use also to train another artificial intelligence machine. In this case, I used the website this person doesn't exist that immediately create for me a face. At the end, I use the same face to other algorithm to transform it in a painting, and just to say, oh, okay, oh, all this is, and what is the gender, and so on. What is the kind, and just the little problem of this kind of data that many companies and say, now we are really just using synthetic. Was the problem that a lot of the synthetic data algorithms were trained with real data. So they use real data to be able to create the synthetic data. And they asked the government to say, okay, no, this is illegal to use this kind of data. So they have an competitive advantage because they used illegally this data to create the synthetic data algorithm, and they want to block other companies to do the same because it's not ethic and because it's not legal. Just try to think what is difference and what is not working in this kind of way to think. So I have an advantage competitive because I stolen data. I don't want other people to use the same data to do the same. And what we are just seeing on the painting is happening in a lot of other sector. There are companies that are creating the ATS, just a way to track the new hiring section from the people. And there are companies that are creating other artificial intelligence algorithms to just modify our CV or just to add our CV some little things. Just sometimes just we need just a comma or just a synonym to scale the table of our rank. So we know that this company use this kind of ATS system, or we can propose different way of just to our CV, so different way, different flavor of our CV, to be sure that one of them will be able to break the threshold of the most famous ATS. So there is kind of machine versus machines competition, just to say I won't be sure to be selected. When you talk ethical machine, uh, all of us know the trollology. So the kind of options when we cannot have other choice. We have only two choice, have to decide to do something or nothing. In this way, the funny the fun thing is that, for example, the moral machine created 10 years ago by the MIT is today immoral. Why? Because in the moral machine was said that sometimes the machine could ask, we have to protect the passenger or to respect the law, and it is okay. No one is against it. It's a personal choice. But sometimes it's also asked us to say we have to kill either people's social value or lower people's social value. And this is social scoring. Social scoring is illegal in Europe. So the machine couldn't just take this decision. They cannot recognize people from this way. And also, this is body shaming. If we have to decide if a machine have to kill large people or fit people. But when we talk about this is the problem of the machine doesn't think. We are us as developer, as data scientist that decided. And sometimes There are people that decide extremely to demonstrate that something is not working at all. The first example is an example, an autonomous driving machine, that was with just a pack of salt, was designed on the road, a continuous line. The car was unable to exit for the circle, was completely closed inside. We have to wait, a human people, just to move on. The interesting thing is that in this case, there was also a problem inside the company to have to create this system. And the problem was, I can't say that to a machine that sometimes it can break the rule. That sometimes it's quite normal to do something that is not correct. It is really complicated. And another case was when an engineer was not right with the decision, for the decision is completely wrong, to test an autonomous driving machine in the road of California. For him, is not right because the software is not mature. The company decided to move this car on the street, so in the real world, and this developer decided to put a backdoor in the machine, and they put inside the photo or if family. So he decided that it doesn't matter what the machine will decide, but if I don't recognize some parents, say some friends, they have to decide to kill everyone else. So something to say, okay, this is the law, this is the regulation of the company, but I will never accept that the machine that I created will kill a person that I own. So the same could happen when also we have a machine versus a machine. This is easy in the case of sorry, in the case of hiring, but we could imagine the same for an autonomous drive car. Just imagine two cars that are crashing together, and they don't want to kill the drivers or the people inside the machine. They can just kill everyone else on the street, on the pavement. And all of these rules are written by us. Also, we know that it is impossible to create artificial intelligence model today that are without bias. And the bias are of two different types. The first type is the type that we know, is the type of neuroscience said us. And this kind of bias are known, it is quite easy to check if there is inside or not. The other side is not easy at all because it's the cultural value that we have. If we close the world and we decide that the country, sorry, have to training for example, Midjourney with all the picture of their culture. Just imagine this crazy picture, and they decide to movies in, for example, in the US, in Europe, or in Japan. If we ask to have scholar, a female scholar, at the end of the school or the exit of the school, perhaps in the US we have this kind of girls that are moving out the college. In Italy, it is possible to have people with completed wearing casual and very colorful bags. Could be. In Japan, for sure, we have the uniform of the college or the uniform of the school because it's the same uniform for all. And if we ask, for example, to do the same to Iran, well, it's quite possible that all these girls we have the burqa, or we have something else. So when we create the models is like a picture or our time or our way to think of our culture. This is what happens in Amazon and Google when they decided to continue to work for military division. There was a strike. The company that decided to work never said to their employees that the algorithm they are using for Alexa or Google Cloud was used also to create a drone, or was used to decide if a people is a danger for the US and we have to launch a missile, also without the check or the confirmation of human person. The problem wasn't that is right or not right. A lot of people decided this is not right and they go on strike. The problem was that there is nothing about it in the project. They don't know that they are working on was for the military school. So the protest was so animated that Amazon have to completely separate and create a new startup. So inside Amazon, there is who continue to create algorithms from Alexa and AWS, and we're moving to create algorithms specifically for the Nimbus project, and specifically for the military sector. So because the developer inside Amazon decided that for them is not right. And is this not right for just single one person? It's okay, this person can leave the company. Is this not right for 100 person, 100 people? The problem is completely different. Amazon cannot close all the division of computer vision research. So they have to change. And this is why they are introduced the ethical code. Salvatore Sanfilippo, the creators of Redis, in a panel one month ago, also tells that he was in the condition when he just understood when he was walking inside the new company that there was hired to create a new kind of video games, but he discovered that it not was a kind of video games, but it was a military drone. So the idea to have an ethical code, the ethical code is we have to need an ethical code for the company, and it's okay. But we have also, with the new movement, to be able to have our personal ethical code. So something that, for our point of view, we can say, this is right for me. I want to do this job. I want to have this kind of problem because I've worked from Greenpeace. I can do against the law. Or for me, it's okay to work to the military sector. Remember, there is not right or wrong, but just we want to know what I'm doing when I accept the job, or what were I doing when I'm doing my job. Just to say, no, it's not my business, and I want another one. Oh, okay, they are my value. Okay, I accept it. And this is important because, as we said, the artificial intelligence is a black box. So the European Commission and the other working group are just asking the people inside the companies or using the data or using the models just to say stop. Just to say these models doesn't respect the European guidelines, doesn't respect my value law, or just doesn't respect the ethical code I signed when I was hired. And just to say, you have a question or you have something, just you can reach me on LinkedIn. And just because when we work in a working group, some things think that is although this is just a philosophy, or nothing happens. The reality is that in the working group for ethics and artificial intelligence, we are working in a real case studies. So we are working in something that it happens, it is okay in Europe for us or not in different culture. Talk about it. It happens again. It was used in a different way. So we are not talking could be, but we are talking oh, it happens, and now, okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mauro. That was very kind of rich presentations. You talked about so many different aspects of the ethics and how things could go wrong and how things actually go wrong today on the landscape. I When I think about AI ethics, it is a complex thing, but the first thing that comes to my head is these three principles of robotics by Asimov, where he was saying that first of all, a robot cannot harm a human. The second one, it needs to obey human unless it violates the first principle, and then it needs to protect its own existence unless it violates point one and two. So a question to you is, if you were to think about the most important aspect that you would want every company to have in their AI ethics code, what would it be? What would be the number one, the most important thing?
Yeah, the number one is to put people at the center of the project. Just to think about the people that are the final user or versus the algorithm will be used, and not to the percentage of score. Sometimes we are just too stressed to have to improve our scores 90%, 91%, 92%. But just to say, okay, this is 89, but it respect everything, respect the data, the privacy of the data, respect the people, respect the out. And just to put what is happens if I have a case, for example, in Texas, there was just a concourse, just to say, okay, we have to select the new AI models from the sheriff. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare because the models was really accurate, but the government just didn't accept it. Didn't accept it because the machine didn't confirm the bias of the people that have to use the model. Just imagine the sheriff to say, "Oh no, I have to just to control these black people and not the white one because this is my job. I did it for 40 years. Why the machine said me these people are right and I have to just to control the other people?" Because if you have in the jail 90% of people that are not be able just to pay the lawyer, and just to train this model with this data, it's quite normal that the AI suggests you all to control black people because it's completely biased. Is just to take the place of the sheriff? Yes, it is. It's thinking like the sheriff. But what we have to ask also the developer is: we want to do a good job or just to replace the cultural point of view of a person? So we have to freeze our way of think, or we have created a better world. So this is a mix. We have to find something that could be good for both. I imagine the same for the hiring process. If we take all the CV of the people that are working in IT 30 years ago, 99% of people are men. If we use the same to just to training an AI hiring model today with the data of 30 years ago, it is quite normal that all the female will be discarded because are completely an outline on the data set that we are using.
Yeah.
It is easy to say, okay, to respect the 99%. But we are completely discriminating a gender.
Yeah, and this is exactly what they found in the hiring system of AWS, right? Where the algorithm learned to just to promote males based on the historical, like a history of the hires. And again, that they didn't do it like it was all subconscious, but it all boils down to how the data was prepared and who was working on it. And I think having a diverse team with different backgrounds, both male and female, and from different socioeconomic backgrounds as well, is so important just to maximize the exposure and
Yeah,
just raising the awareness. That's why I really thank you for talking about this, because even though it's not very technical, but it relates to all of us working in the data field. So it's very important to talk about these
yeah.
subjects.
Thank you.
Um,
Because and just when we know about the AWS, for example, there was also a question about it because it's difficult to think that in AWS, the data scientists that are really good data scientists didn't know how to balance an unbalanced data set. But if the management or the middle management want to see the high scores, it could be possible that they selected the unbalanced model because the score is higher. So we have to present something. Okay, this is balanced at 85%, just a guessing. And this is the unbalanced that I don't like. Okay, but this is 95%. I selected the score, the highest score. But score is for marketing, is not for science.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree totally. So thank you very much, Mauro, for the presentation. And everyone else, you're free to grab some lunch. We're just ahead of the lunch break, but please come back after the break because we still have two very interesting presentations ahead of us. So I'll see you in about an hour's time. Thank you very much, Mauro.
Bye, bye. Thank you to you
Bye.
for having me.